Today, we're talking Crimson Desert. One of the most hyped games is finally here, but did it just stumble out of the gate? Plus, Nvidia's DLSS 5 rollout is getting hit with some serious AI backlash. Are gamers overreacting, or is this outrage justified? And Sony is sunsetting PSN. So is this just a rebrand or the end of an era for PlayStation? Stick around for all that and more. Welcome, friends. It's good playing with you, your weekly gaming news roundup. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by my controller cohort, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And this week, we've got James Sheff from the High Octane Dads podcast.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Welcome. It's awesome to have you on the pod, and thank you for stopping by to hang out and talk video games with us this week. For anyone who might not know you yet, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and High Octane Dads?
Yeah, for sure. I am so far the self-proclaimed nerdiest hot rodder on the internet. So a friend of mine, Chris, and I, we started the High Octane Dads podcast about 1.5 years ago for just general dad stuff. We bonded over cars, but we talk about anything from mental health to, races that are coming up. So been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Definitely look forward to hearing more about that one. Right now, though, we've got a packed show. But one quick note before we dive in, we're only 94 subscribers away from our goal. So if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps us out. All right, now with that out of the way, let's jump into the headlines of the week. First up, gentlemen, we have to talk about Crimson Desert. And man, this one's definitely getting some interesting reviews. It's one of the biggest swings we've actually seen in a while. This was the game that people were saying looked too good to be true. Unreal trailers, insane combat clips, huge open world. It felt like it was lining up to be one of the biggest hits of the year. And now the reviews are out, and it's landed on a 78 on Metacritic, which is good, but definitely not matching the insane hype that we've been having so far this year. So what's going on? At a high level, critics are saying the same thing across the board. This game looks incredible, but doesn't always come together. Here's a quick sampling. The good came from Forbes, who gave it a 9.5 out of 10, and they absolutely loved it, saying, if the question was whether Crimson Desert could really be that big and really play that well, the answer for me is unequivocally yes. So for some people, it does live up to the promise. The mid review came from PC Gamer, giving it a 7 out of 10, calling it a jack of all trades, master of some, perhaps, basically saying it tries to do everything and kind of succeeds, but also loses its focus along the way. And then the brutal review came from Eurogamer. They didn't give it a score, but they did say, quote, it lacks a certain distinctiveness. Imagine a banquet where almost every dish has the faint taste of cardboard. Yeesh, that's a little rough. So you can see that pattern, and you see that pattern everywhere. People are saying the good stuff, like the world and the visuals are amazing, the combat when it works, the sheer scale and ambition of the game. But a lot of people are criticizing a weak and forgettable story, overloaded systems and inventory management, and a general feeling that it's bloated and unfocused. Early game impressions from places like Polygon and Bloomberg were pretty harsh, basically saying the world can feel empty or like it's designed to just keep you busy rather than engage. So this is kind of where we land. Crimson Desert might be the perfect example of a game that looked like a 95 and then turned out to be a 78. So after all the hype, gentlemen, does this one sound like a must play to you guys? Or is this starting to feel like one of those looks amazing, plays just okay kind of games that you might want to wait on? Let's go to our guest, James. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I intentionally tried to avoid the hype train, and then I tried to get on it. And unfortunately, I think just for me and as busy as I am, it already was so much to sink your teeth into that I thought it'd be something I'd never finish. And so it's kind of a non-starter for me, for sure. And I think seeing the reviews coming out and going, look, it feels kind of scattered. We're not really sure. Is it great at this? Is it great at that? It's going to be one that I'm going to pass for a while until I catch it on a Steam sale, I think. But it looks great.
Lord?
Yeah, I'm with you there, James. I look at this game and I just think this is tainted with some Ubisoft stylistic choices in there. Like,
no,
there's too much stuff going on here. And I heard the term Assassin's Creed getting thrown around earlier this week. And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, the reviews that I saw like coming into the show moments ago, it looks like it's getting a mixed rating on Steam right now. Like, who knows? Yeah, of course, that could be a variety of things. So take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I don't know. the reviews are so scattered to me right now that I am going to have to sit back and wait before I play this thing. Like, maybe you need some patches, maybe it just needs a little bit more time, and eventually, I don't know. I'm trying to think if this game will go on sale like sooner than later. I think this will actually stay full price for a little while, unless it really
Yeah.
doesn't sell well. And then I'll dip my toes in, but I'm definitely gonna let like Dan let you get in there, see how you feel, and make a
I can't
decision.
resist. I can't
Yeah.
resist because I got to be honest with you, James. I'm probably being the 100% like most guilty person of driving the hype train around here for this game. All I've been watching every piece of pre-release footage and gameplays and everything just because it looks so amazing, all the different systems and things that they would let you do. And I was like, wow, if they're really going that hard into making this game and it sounds so ambitious and so big, it's got to be a great game. But then right before in the last week or so, I did start to notice, hey, wait a minute, the voice acting isn't very good. This does kind of strike me as an Ubisoft game. Like, I would say Assassin's Creed on steroids. And that's my biggest fear. If it's Assassin's Creed on steroids, I am super out. It's tough because look, last week I talked about how I was excited to play Toxic Commando, and I will tell you more about my adventures in Toxic Commando later on. And that was a 74. So it was like, okay, this is not the best review, but it's also a $40 game, and I want to jump in. This one has like reviews that are like 95s and 65s. So it's all over the place. It's coming in at a 78 and it's a $70 game. So it's like, man, I got to make sure I'm really going to like this game or else I'm going to feel burned. So I'm, to be honest, I'm so screwed because I on one hand, it's like, I want to jump in and play the game everyone's talking about and be current, but I'm screwed if I don't like it. And then I'm like, well, if I want to be able to wait, but then I know if I wait, then I'm just going to be like, well, this, I should have jumped in, or, maybe it was, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm not sure to dive in, but I probably will because friend of the pod, Molding, I spoke to him just moments ago before we jumped on this, and he said he's really enjoying it. And so I will probably take the bait, buy it, and then I'll keep you guys posted on what I think, next week. But so, James, do you normally play mainly on PC, and do you play these kind of games?
Yeah, I love any type of fantasy RPG kind of stuff. Expedition 33 was one that I really sunk my teeth into for the first time in a while. As a busy guy, I was like, nope, I'm playing this one. It's great. And so, but the more open world aspect of it, I love them and I want to play them. But my guilty admission is I still haven't finished The Witcher 3, and that's the one that everybody says you have to go and do. So it's just when I look at those 100-hour, 120-hour games to go and finish, I'm like, or I can play something like Slay the Spire and just play that loop for 30 minutes before I go to bed. So,
which I want to touch on that game, but we're going to save that for later too, because I'm very curious to hear about that one. But it makes total sense.
James, when it comes to like, okay, they're saying a weaker story. It says you played Expedition 33. How does that make you feel about this game if the story is not quite up to par where I think it should be? Because I'm a story guy 100%. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm all about the story, right? I can forgive awful graphics even, or some poor optimization for a fantastic story. Octopath Traveler was a game that I really sunk my teeth into. Had great characters, great story, and a good combat system. And there's no graphics to be had there. I don't need the latest and greatest to enjoy it, as long as it's got a great core story, some character development, and characters that I actually care about. That's great. And so if it does kind of fall short in that area, then it would definitely probably make it a pass.
That just reminded me, like, kind of sparked in my head. I feel like Crimson Desert is some sort of like undercover tech demo that we don't like understand fully. Like, is this some sort of like, is it just showing off like some sort of like new hardware feature that we're just unaware of? Because it doesn't really have a story. They're trying to do everything. They have this huge open world. The graphics are pretty good. It's just like, what's going on here? Like,
it could be. I mean, if it's their proprietary engine, maybe that is. Maybe I want to show off everything they can do so they can license it off to other people. So maybe. I don't know what the engine is, but you could have a point there.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, some of the review controversy comes from console gamers, right? Who are playing on a console and not getting anywhere near the beautiful game that they've seen in trailers for the last, 6 months or however long. So I think that's got something to do with the rating side of it. But yeah, to your point, I think that it could be just like, hey, look at our great engine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, was this game kind of screwed though from a story standpoint just by the fact that it's a huge open world sandbox game? I feel like it's really hard to get a good narrative on some of these bigger open world games. I recently played something like Mafia: The Old Country, and man, if you really like story games, that one comes highly recommended. I thought it was fantastic, but when I played it, it was just story beat after story beat, and that's when I was like, oh shit, I see why some of these games have a hard time telling a story, is because with an open world, you're doing all this side shit, you're forgetting the main quest, the pacing slows down, you're not as invested in the main story. And so it could just be something systematic of the way that open world games are. I don't know.
Yeah, no, so true. Open world games, I mean, I gotta say, Breath of the Wild, I thought had such a cool story for an open world game. That game just, for me, blew me away, of course. And I was like, that is how you do a good, like, it almost needs to be like, I don't know how Breath of the Wild did it's such an amazing job with that. It's not trying to push the story in your face. It's just like you're finding clues to different aspects of the game. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know right now in my life if I can just jump into a humongous open world game. Like, I'm with you, James. Like, I just don't know if I got it in me at this point. So it's like,
that's understandable for sure.
I know. It's like, so
I bounce hard off of those for sure.
I know.
And I'm the exact opposite. I'm that asshole who will sit there and sink that much. And it's like a relationship in that term. Like the first few hours, I'm like, oh, this is great. Everything's great. We can do no wrong. I'm so in love. This is so amazing. And then by like hour 100, the relationship turns toxic. And I'm just like, oh, I wish I could finish this game. Just let me go. Just let me finish it so I can leave. I got to get out of this relationship. But I can't until it's completely dead and on the floor. And then I can finally leave the relationship. And it's funny how I am with video games. I feel like I have to stick in there and get those. So I could be screwed and on the hook for 200 hours when I pick this one up.
That's wild. You are a completionist like that. So
it's crazy. Oh, one quick thing I wanted to let you guys know about this one, just to get your opinion on. But speaking of crazy stories in Crimson Desert, after reviews landed around a 78 on Metacritic, publisher Pearl Abyss saw its stock price drop 30% in a single day. And when you look at the context, it starts to make a little bit more sense. The game was in development for about 7 years, with reports estimating a budget of roughly 130 million. So expectations weren't high, they were sky high. Investors were reportedly expecting something in the mid to high 80s. And when that didn't happen, the market reacted fast. And here's where it gets interesting. At the same time, the game is still selling well on Steam, with hundreds of thousands of pre-orders already charting on PlayStation, and analysts say it could still be a major hit if it sticks the landing and continues to sell. So you've got this split reaction here of critics saying great or good, not great. Players are showing up, but investors are like, this isn't enough. And then so that kind of made me wonder, like, has AAA gaming got to the point where anything below an 85 is considered a failure? Or is this just what happens when a hype train gets, out of control? What do you think this means for the industry, James?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm a big indie game guy. I mean, yeah, I love Breath of the Wild and some of the mainstream games, but I love some of this indie stuff that's coming out. And so honestly, the AAA market feels to me like a lot of broken and hurt feelings and expectations, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I think that's going to, as these budgets go up, that's going to just continue to be something that we see, unfortunately.
That's a good point.
And like, what the F do investors know about games at the same time?
I agree.
I agree. They don't know anything. Like, they're just dumb. And that's why anything corporate related is such in a bad way, because these people just don't know and they don't understand games. But
sometimes it works to our advantage, though, because when GTA got delayed, the stock price dropped immediately. And then Lord and I jumped in and we bought a bunch of stock. And then they released the trailer, and the trailer was great, trailer 2 or whatever. And then the stock price shot back up. And then Lord and I are just going to sit pretty and twiddle our thumbs and wait for the actual release. And then we're going to totally sell. So, yes, investors are stupid, but sometimes they work to our advantage.
Yeah, the opposite rug pull is what we pulled off right there. It was like really cool. Yeah, I just, I mean, to the point about review scores being under 85, let's be honest, when I see something under 80, I mean, it's hard not to be like, that's a game I'm just going to wait for to go on sale. Like, that's a game I'll wait for because, like, I don't know, there's all these other games that are like rated 90s and like near perfect games that I still have yet to play, and I can play those for a relatively cheap price. So when like a $70 game comes out, it's like I can wait, like I can hold off, which is really sad. I feel like I should be like really excited and jump into, you know, 78's not like, that's not a bad score at all. That's still a plenty good game, but I think in my head, and it's been that way for a long in my mind, even like all the way back to days of GameStop when you were like waiting for the new Game Informer and you see the latest scores, you're like, oh man, it only got like a 7.5. This it's a fail. And so it's been a long time for, in my mind, like that. And I think gamers are kind of in the same boat. What do you think?
Yeah, but I do think that sometimes you can look at a game and say, look, score doesn't matter. I'm really interested in shooting zombies. I'm going to buy John Carpenter's no matter what. It's only like $35 for me. So that's a no-brainer. I think when it becomes more expensive and when these budgets are so huge, that's where you have to think a little bit more. So for some people, this is a them game and they will jump on it and love it. It does make it harder to buy when the scores are a little bit lower for those of us who are on the fence. I feel like I'm being suckered into it, so I'm gone. I'm gonna have to buy it. But no, I totally hear what you mean. And then to James's point about these companies that just are making these ginormous, like $130 million games, I mean, it kind of makes sense. And you start to see them, you understand why they want to use AI and all that sort of stuff because they want to cut costs. But you've also seen horrific results with like video and stuff like that. And who knows what could happen if AI starts to take over. And the reason I bring that up is because I know, Lord, there was just an AI controversy that was pretty big in the world of video games this week. Why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump in here. NVIDIA's DLSS 5 is going viral for all the wrong reasons. If you missed the news, NVIDIA announced the DLSS 5 brings a real-time neural rendering model that infuses pixels with photoreal lighting and materials. In other words, it uses AI to improve lighting and realism. And this is from there was an interview here, and because there's been all sorts of outrage of this, and as you can maybe see, we're maybe running a video right now. You can see some of the side-by-side pictures of Grace from like Resident Evil, and it just looks like a completely different rendering of the same screen grab. It's crazy. So the NVIDIA CEO responds. Tom's Hardware asks NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang about online backlash at this week's GPU technology conference. And he says, well, first of all, they're completely wrong. He responded, arguing that full control of the tech remains with the game developers. So how do you feel about this technology, you know, completely overhauling your games? I mean, do you think this is something that NVIDIA will reverse, or do you think this will actually catch on in the future? What do you think, James?
Well, so I'm an IT professional. I use AI every day, and I can tell you I have watched it hallucinate on a spreadsheet and the data that's in that spreadsheet. I don't want it hallucinating on the face of a character and you know that I'm trying to
For sure.
be immersed in this game, right? And so I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Definitely the first and foremost being that I don't even tend to mod games very often because like I want to see the game that the developer and those artists intended for me to see and to play. And so to have something that kind of tweaks that and you know maybe okay they determine what it would look like, but you're allowing the AI to interpret and then output those pixels. How can they control that? I can't even control the thing to make sure that all these numbers balance in the spreadsheet, much less, you know, something at this level. So I'm a little worried about it, but I don't think it'll go away. I think at the end of the day, gamers will just accept it and either turn it off or, you know, and they're going to pay a premium for the cards just to have the capability.
Now, what do you think, Dan?
Well, just to play devil's advocate, because I think you're totally right and agree with all your points, but unfortunately, it looks really good. I mean, I hate to say it, but I really like the way it looks. One of my complaints going into Resident Evil 9 was I thought the RE engine, which everyone loves, and they're like, oh, glazing it all the time. I thought it looked a little old and stale. And so seeing what this technology can do to that engine and those characters, I'm like, shit, that was really going to like make this game a little bit scarier, and because it looks more realistic and it looks really good. But at the same time, I totally understand. I mean, no one should trust AI completely, especially with their end products. So that's that way. And I never, and I have my fear is essentially people would lose their jobs. Like that companies are like, okay, we don't need to hire a lighting specialist anymore. We're just going to let this card do it and rely on AI too much and let it, like, there's no one's going to be driving that ship and it's going to be out of control. Like you said, could be tons of hallucinations that we already have problems like with Ubisoft with like the faces not being there when games load in and all sorts of teeth and mouth and weird things happening. I just can only imagine what could happen here with this. I do think it's exciting technology, and you're right. I think the cat's out of the bag. It's going to be here regardless, and it's just how is it going to be used? I certainly hope that no one loses their job. I hope it only is another tool that artists can use to tell even better stories.
Yeah, I think we see this with developers too, right? There's a lot of concern about what it's going to do to developer jobs, but really talented developers are still navigating and utilizing AI to go and do really awesome things. Where it hurts are the junior developers and your smaller artists that are trying to get into that industry. But I think it just, in that regard, just accelerates things for them, allows them to get to a place where maybe they can do more than they would have been able to do in their first year or two. If they've got a vision, now they've got something to help them bring that to life. And so, again, devil's advocate on that, I think there's possibility there, but then there's also there is a valid concern for sure.
Yeah, I saw like a funny meme. It was like these super pixelated, like completely undetailed, people's faces and like horses, and it was like DLSS 5 off, and then it was like this magnificent looking like medieval times, like, and I think that is sort of like, I was thinking about what this might mean for the future of game development if it does catch on. It's like the CPU is gonna be like the producer, the designer. It could potentially just be like everything the gaming industry is in one thing. If it's just like, it could technically do like almost. I mean, if you just fed it such a basic like framework of a game, it basically could cook it all up for you. Essentially, like if once the technology, like this is still like a little ways off, but it seems like we're kind of getting to a point where you could feed it such a basic piece of storytelling and it can make something like incredible. And so I feel like that's like where we're kind of going. It's like now it's just going to be Nvidia doing all these different tasks that I feel like game developers were doing. I don't know. Let me know if I'm like, spiraling a little bit on that, but I feel like there's something there.
I think you're definitely looking way further in the future. Because I think that will be part of it for sure. I know that some game companies started losing like stock investors when Google showed like that you can render things based like video game worlds based on description. So that technology is definitely, you're right, coming for sure. I think in the immediate term though, and how it impacts us, that has me a little bit concerned of is we already have this RAM price issue going into this next gen console that's supposedly going to be starting. We know dev kits are coming out for the next Xbox early next year. Does that mean we get a new console at the end of next year, launched at the Game Awards? Because that would be a better announcement than Highguard. We'll see. But what are the prices going to be like if we've got these graphic cards that now need to be souped up to run DLSS 5? If we need all of this RAM, man, is next generation only going to be for the rich people? And that's what has me concerned. It's like exciting changes and stuff, but they have significant drawbacks where people can lose their jobs and the games could quickly become unaffordable if we head off too quickly into this AI sort of revolution.
Yeah, James,
or does it push
Yeah, do you want to speak on, like, I'm just thinking like the computing power. I'm sure you would have some insight into what that might look like then.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple avenues there. Does it drive the price up? Absolutely, but does it also force these developers to go and become better at optimization and making sure that they're not chewing through 16 gigs of RAM just to run their game? I don't know. I think that it's definitely going to be expensive, at least this next round. And yeah, I'm thankful that I did a few PC upgrades right before things went crazy.
I did the same. I was like, oh man, I bought some RAM for like $60 and now it's already at like 250. I like cannot believe the price hikes have been insane. And I really do think, because what is this? And this would be for the next generation of cards. Is that right? It's like, or is it going to be just like an upgrade? I'm just trying to think how they were going to implement it. I didn't get the full picture.
I think it's the 60 series cards that are getting the DLSS 5,
Okay.
right? Like, I don't think it's even going to be on the 50 series. So,
okay. So it is going to be the next round. Yeah. So, but if I was the developers, I would be pissed though, too. I would be like, listen, that's not my game though. Like, I don't know. That would be my takeaway also. Like, if I was a developer, I would just be like, this doesn't, like, the Resident Evil thing. I get what you're saying, Dan, about it not looking that good and up to date, but like, you can clearly tell there's like a major difference between the game they output and what this DLSS 5 is like creating.
Yeah.
I can put my 10 full hat on and tell you they intentionally made it look that way so you'd want that 60 series card to replay it with those new textures and lighting.
See, we love a good conspiracy theory around here, and that is definitely good. I mean, they could have picked out, like, especially the Grace and the Leon photos and stuff that they picked out were definitely a little bit more washed out, and they do, like, Hogwarts characters looked so flat, so there really could be something to what you're saying. Take one of the lowest res options here, and then turn this thing on so you get the most dramatic reveal. I could see that for sure.
Yeah, I could too. Yeah.
Speaking of interesting changes and next gen, Sony might be killing PSN. This one's a little bit wild. It comes straight from a reported internal email sent to developers from Sony. According to that email, Sony is planning to phase out all, quote, PlayStation Network or PSN branding by September 2026. And here was the key quote. Sony Interactive Entertainment has strategically decided to phase out the term PlayStation Network and PSN to properly capture the breadth of our evolving digital services. So that's the why, or at least the corporate version of it. Now, to be clear, they also went out of their way to say that this is not a shutdown of PSN, of course. Another line from the email says, the upcoming changes are purely visual and will not introduce any technical alterations. All features currently associated with PSN will continue to remain unaffected. So friends list, multiplayer trophies, all that stays. This is just a branding shift, but it's a big one. PSN has been around for almost 20 years, and dropping that name suggests Sony is thinking way bigger than just a console network for next generation. Between PC releases, subscriptions, and live service games, it feels like they want a name that represents more of a full ecosystem. And honestly, it lines up with what Xbox is doing too, moving away from its Xbox Live and its single box identity. But the big question is, like, what happens next? Do you guys think dropping the PSN name is a smart evolution for PlayStation? Or is this one of these iconic brands that's too big to walk away from? James, let's go to you.
Okay. In the interest of time, I went way down the rabbit hole on this one. So
let's hear it.
I do
have
apologize.
a conspiracy theory too, so you get to go first. I'm dying to hear what you'd say.
Yeah, hopefully I don't step on your toes, but I will tell you, like, so, obviously, I have a Samsung phone, right? You've got your Samsung accounts, and I think it really is a move to have your Sony account. It's always been some confusion. Like, do I have a PlayStation account? Do I have a Sony account? What is it? But Sony makes a lot of electronics, right? And so I think as I went to dig into this, it's like, Sony Bank has applied now to have an actual, like, regulated, and I don't know the term for it exactly, but it would be a official stable coin, right? Where they will have their own blockchain and back marketplace and wallet effectively, right? So you'd have your Sony wallet the way Apple or Google wallet, but because it's their coin, it's backed by blockchain. Now they don't have to pay 3% fee. So think when GTA 6 comes out, right? If you've got money in your Sony wallet, which is on their blockchain backed by Sony Bank, they don't have to pay 3% or 2% or whatever it is to Visa or whoever else, right? So they really are doing this to build this big ecosystem where their end to end, right? And then even further, looking into, like, I don't know if you've looked into Project Kronos, right? But their new data centers and stuff that are coming online for streaming gaming and other things. I really think that's a step towards Sony launching a new Xperia phone, which is for sort of the prosumer people who want great cameras and great, gaming experience, gaming on the go right there on your phone and device. Like, I really think it's a play for the next 3 to 5 years to just, you're going to have Sony TVs and phones and everything else, and it's all tied through your Sony account. And PlayStation muddies that.
I like that
Nice.
one, James. That's deep.
Very logical.
Yeah,
I went
I think that's
way
very
down the road.
possible.
I love
No.
it though. That's awesome.
And it tied into GTA 6, like boom,
You got
icing
the
on
winner,
the
yeah.
cake, my friend. That's I could see that actually being a thing. And I do agree, it always felt weird when you were messing around with your PSN account that you had to log into your Sony. You're like, what the hell was that password again? I don't know what it is. So if they do separate that, I could see something like that happening.
Oh shit, you guys are going all logical. I went more like pie in the sky, crazy idea, like. But
Tell it.
my conspiracy theory is, and this is what I really want to be having happen, but it's a real long shot, is the reason that they're sunsetting PlayStation Network as a brand is because they're looking at what's going to happen in the next generation. They're setting up their next console. And what is happening essentially is Steam is moving to the living room. And when it does that, it's killing the online price that we are paying right now to get consoles online. Xbox has set itself up because it already got rid of Xbox Live branding. So we're just paying now for the Game Pass thing. They quietly sunset the charge to play online. And then this allows Sony to do the same thing. And this means it could be free to be playing online on console in next generation, thanks to Steam.
I think that's the most likely of.
I would hope. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
They don't want to give up the money. But,
I would love
but
that.
then it makes sense. I know.
It does make sense. Like, I think it's about time they drop that price tag. It's crazy. Like, I would love to know how many people are, buying into some of those like upper tiered PlayStation Network like subscriptions. Like, I kind of don't think that that's, doing anything to move the needle. So I think that's very likely they're just kind of like moving away. But I mean, they're trying to pull like the Twitter to X sort of situation. They're like, no, we're going to get a new name going. What do you guys think? What do you think could potentially be the new name for this thing? I want to hear your best guess. I could see it being like Netty or SETI or something along those lines.
It's going to be part of their PlayStation Plus, brand or whatever. Like it would be a tier in there. That's what it would be. Sorry to be unexciting, but that's what Xbox does. But James, what do you think about my strategy or my theory? Is it any validity there? I mean, yours makes logical number sense. Mine's more pie in the sky.
No, I mean, I'll buy that for $1, which is the dollar I would save if I wasn't having to pay for all these services and things. Although we dropped Game Pass and PlayStation Plus about 3 or 4 months ago, and I was like, I'll get it back when I think that the value is there for us. My son, he plays Fortnite a lot. Crazy good. I do pay yearly for Nintendo Online, but that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, I think that if they could get to a place where they rebrand this, it's a lot simpler. And but I did not think about that. The Steam console that's coming out really does, like, everybody's going to flock to that because, like, even if it costs a little more, I don't have to pay you $30 a month just for the privilege of playing games on your network. That's a fantastic theory.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a strong argument. Otherwise, I just don't know where it's going. I mean, they could rebrand it, Lord, but I ain't got nothing but Plus for you. So
Plus, I could see Plus.
Yeah.
Sony Plus,
Sony Plus, PS Plus.
Yeah, it would be hard for them to walk away from that money, but if their competitors are doing it, I think that's what's really going to be happening here. But speaking of money and not wanting to walk away from it, I wanted to recap this Subnautica story for you guys real quick. Sweet. Because it's been interesting this week. We've kind of been watching this game like play out legally for the past like 6 months or so. But it brought up some of my questions I want to ask you guys. But first, let me recap real quickly, because I know Subnautica is beloved by a lot of people, even the DLC it had with it. But this is Subnautica 2 being made by Krafton and team, and it got a little messy. So Subnautica 2 is now officially heading to early access in May, but that announcement comes in the middle of a legal fight between Unknown Worlds and publisher Krafton. Last year, Krafton removed Unknown World's original leadership, including CEO Ted Gill and co-founders Charlie Cleveland and Max McGuire. Soon after, reports and lawsuits claimed the dispute was tied to a massive $250 million earn-out bonus that the studio could receive if it hit certain performance targets. And this is where the real argument starts. The former studio leaders say that Krafton delayed the game and pushed them out to avoid paying that bonus. Krafton says the game simply wasn't ready and that the leadership was too focused on getting it out the door and cashing in on the bonus. A judge now stepped in and has ruled in favor of Gill on key points, ordering him reinstated, and then restored his control over the early access launch and extended the earnout deadline until September of 2026. So no, we don't still have a clean winner here on who's playing it straight, but this is the crux of it. Was Krafton trying to dodge a giant payout? Or were the developers trying to push out an unfinished game into early access to secure that payout before time ran out? So what do you guys make of this story? Are you on one side or the other? And what do you think's the future for Subnautica? James, let's go to you.
Yeah, so I knew nothing about this until I looked into it, and the idea of like a judge like reappointing a CEO to go like back to protect this thing is wild in the first place. But if this guy really was like trying to stick it to his devs and everything else for a game that I know personally, like a lot of people just absolutely love, that I hope he gets whatever's coming to him.
Yeah, Lord, what are your thoughts?
I mean, is like 250 million? Does that number just seem like way high to you guys as well? Like, of course they're going to work super hard to hit that damn quota to get a $250 million payout. Like, I don't really blame them for trying to get that. Like, I think maybe if it was a little less sum of money, they would be like, well, it's not like outrageous. Like, we'll get it out and we'll work just as hard as we should. And then, like, I don't know, there's something about that 250 million that is just like, to me, I know, like, because I'm just like a poor over here, like $250 million is crazy, but it seems so high. Yeah.
Well, you're right. I think you've got a great point there that it's the deal, the way these deals are being structured, that is a little bit concerning. And Krafton kind of screwed themselves over here, leaving this option to happen. So they kind of brought it on themselves. I definitely think the proof will be in the pudding when it comes out. Will it be a buggy, unfinished, short mess? Or will it be a solid foundation for a future? I mean, the time will really tell. I mean, I wouldn't touch this game upon release with a 10-foot pole until we see reviews and we see that sort of stuff. So, because it could be a bummer, I do feel like a lot of people like this game and it could sour them on it just because people were greedy on one side or the other. I'm not even exactly sure which. So we'll have to keep an eye on this game. But the reason I wanted to include this game in the story, is, besides the fact that we've talked about it previously, is I wanted to pick your game, your minds on early access in general. When I was reading the story, I was like, you know what? It's very rarely a game comes out in early access that I actually like. Sometimes I think early access is just lazy bullshit, people trying to grab money. And sometimes I see the point where they need funding to grow. Do you guys have feelings on early access games one way or the other, James?
I think I go back to like if it's a small indie studio that I believe in, I'm all on board 100%. I'm like, hey, look, if I can help and fund this and get this thing out, if it's a game I legitimately want to play, that's definitely where I land. Is it kind of depends on the studio. For example, Slay the Spire, I took a gamble even on Path of Exile 2, which I'm a big, I was a big Diablo 2 fan, and so Path of Exile was something I was excited to try, and I gave that one a shot, but it just depends, really. But I'm not opposed to an early access game.
Lord.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I rarely would, get involved. It like Subnautica, like the first game didn't catch my attention, so I wouldn't be like, I need the early access for Subnautica 2 right now. It really would have to be a game that I was just like, I think it would have to be a game that I was just following from the rip, and I would really want it to come out without an issue. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm rallying for it. What do you think, Dan? Are you kind of
Yeah,
not into it?
What made me think of this is I was talking to James earlier, and we were talking about Slay the Spire 2, and I had nothing but good things to say about Slay the Spire 1. I'm not a card game playing guy, and everyone said, "Oh, if you ever play one card game, you have to play Slay the Spire. It's the best one." And I'm like, whatever, nerds. Okay, what is this game? And I start playing, and I'm like, holy shit. This game's fucking awesome. And suddenly I own it on my phone. I own the Switch. I own it like on Xbox. I went crazy because Slay the Spire was that good. And then I'm super pumped for it. And the Moonlighter did this to me too. I love Moonlighter, but they keep releasing these games that I loved previously in early access. And that is a warning sign to me because it says this game is not finished. You're not getting the best version of the game. Do not play this game under any circumstances and let it ride and finish itself. And then you can jump in and maybe there will be a discount. So I absolutely hate early access. I understand the need for it because some developers need it. But over the years, I feel like I've been getting burned more and more on early access games. And now I fucking hate them. And I was just curious if it was a me thing or which it sounds like it is, but I had to check with you guys too.
Well, or you
No,
could be like, Ubi or some of these other ones and release it as if it was the release, but it might as well be early access.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
it's also just looking at you, Cyberpunk. Jeez Louise, base PS4 edition. Holy smokes! I mean, I'm with you though, Dan. I think I am like I'm same. It's like sort of like going back to the reviews where you're like, oh, it's a little under 8. Like I'm a little sus when I see the early access. I'm with you. I'm like, oh, it's not like complete, so I probably shouldn't. It's like I'm getting those early spoilers that I don't want to really be revealed until I get the full glimpse of the big picture. So I think I'm kind of with you on that one, Dan.
But then I thank you. Awesome to hear. But then I also see like Baldur's Gate 3, like, it did the same thing where it was out for the 2 acts and then they did the 3rd act and sold, I don't know. So I guess you could make arguments either way, but it is just such a red flag for me. But having said that, let's actually pivot real quick and let's talk about games and the good stuff that we're playing. Let's talk, James, about Slay the Spire 2. Tell me all about it. Should I be jumping in on this early access game? Am I missing out?
I gotta say, I loved Slay the Spire 1, and it's got a great loop, so I can play it, quick. I don't feel enough of the differentiation from 1 and 2 that it's like, oh my god, this is just a game changer, right? But I nerd out over even the changes to like using Godot for the development of this game because I actually dabble in playing around with Godot, and me and my son make some little mini games and stuff ourselves, and so
Awesome.
they switched to that engine, which is really cool. But there are some changes. The new characters are fun. If you liked Slay the Spire 1, I've not run into a bug or an issue. And it's really interesting. Like as you're going through and unlocking everything, they've got a lot of the like little scribbled cards, like almost a napkin art that they've done when it was like, okay, this is gonna be the place for this thing. They're all in the game. And so they leaned into it. And I don't know. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I don't regret a penny of it.
That's awesome. Does it feel feature complete? Do you feel like, and does it feel well balanced? My experience with the first one was I came to it late. So it was done. It was balanced. It was hard as hell. I had to do a lot of grinding, but it was worth it because I learned a lot. Some of the characters I didn't finish it, but a lot of the characters I did go all the way and kill the heart and do all the things and the stuff, but it was a lot of time. And I don't want to do all the things and the stuff and here early if it's not fully balanced and then it's the best form. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think. I mean, some of the relics feel a little weak, comparative, and the new characters are definitely interesting. I think there's one with the necro lady that's like there's some kind of infinite loop that's pretty easy to build and do that. I've not dabbled into that, so because I do try to not go there. Like I just go
Oh, I'm
into
the
it
cheater.
blind and
I'm the
yeah,
cheater.
I go
I do
into
it.
it blind and I'm I'm just gonna bang my head against that wall until, something clicks and I'm like, oh, I can do that with that. And, and so I end up spending a lot more time on them, but that's where I find enjoyment in it. So yeah, I mean, I think, for me, the challenge is there in the limited time I have to play around with it. But I think if if you played that much of Slay the Spire 1 and you really kind of understood it, I think you might right now find some ways that it's a little bit easier than what you're used to. And so I definitely could see an argument for waiting a little while.
In comparison to the first one, is this better, worse? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's got a lot of charm as it is right now, right? I'm definitely enjoying it as much as the first. I haven't found anything, like I said, that makes me go, oh my God, this makes it that much better. But I do like the two new characters that we've gotten so far. So,
and if you had to recommend a noob pick it up, would you recommend the first one or the second one?
I would jump right into the second one. The learning curve's not any steeper, and so I think you would kind of get a feel for it, but you'd get the new characters and and that way you're kind of on the front edge of it and you can see how it evolves.
Yeah, I would be a brand new player. I haven't played the first one, but I did see the second one launch and I saw the Steam numbers and it was like 500,000 players playing in the first week and I could not believe it. I was like, Slay the Spire is that damn popular? Of course I've seen it around everywhere, but I didn't know it was like it seemed like a game people were really chomping at the bit to get their hands on.
I think it just had that slow burn where it had such a reputation that
Yeah.
even people like me who came to it years later, fell in love with it as well. But yeah, I agree. It launched so huge. That was wild.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Well, and Lord, I'll tell you, like you're a busy dad like me, right? And so that's where like it's not even installed on my machine. Like this is what it's for. I can carry it around with me. I can play it in little pockets of time, and literally mid match, I can hit suspend on it and walk away and come right back and pick up. So that's been a big selling point too.
I'm a huge Steam Deck advocate. I wish I had mine. I usually have it laying on the couch over here, but I think I had to stash it away. What a good great piece of machinery. Like I love that thing. Honestly, probably like my favorite console at this point. Like I run it all the time. And that's good to know that it's just like an easy, because I'm always looking for those games that you can just kind of pick up, play a quick hand or whatever.
Did you ever play Mini Shoot Adventures? I forced you to get the demo, which is free.
I honestly have. Well, I'll get to what I've been just head down every moment I have. I've been just honestly marathoning, but I'll talk about that here in a second.
If you don't want to play Mini Shoot, it's fine. But James, this was a game I was talking about last week, right? I absolutely fell in love. It's like $15. There's a free demo, and it's just like Zelda, but if you are a ship shooting things, it's worth checking out. But speaking of shooting things, I want to talk to you guys about John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, because that's what I played the shit out of this weekend. And I just have to say, that 74 Metacritic score was pretty right on. The good news here is that I did get a discount because I was a super fan of World War Z and I owned that. So they gave me the deluxe edition for like $35. So it wasn't bad at all. But I think I failed to realize that this Toxic Commando, being priced at $40, was going to have so many less features than World War Z. I'm such a World War Z fan, and there's so much DLC over the years. Like it's just, they've just not stopped adding to it. And then they've got a ridiculously awesome horde mode. They've got dailies. They've got mission modifiers. They've got all sorts. Speaking about games that were like literally early access, I would say World War Z, one of my favorites zombie shooters of all time, was exactly the definition of that, because they are still to this day releasing content for it. And this feels so much smaller and so much less. So that was a huge bummer. And then the open world is a little bit tedious. It's fun when you got 4 guys running into zombie hordes, but in a map in an open world game, you've got like different points that you have to hit before you go to the finale, where you need to get like all of these scrap, and you have to get like different XP things and different elements in a car, and then you have to go to the end and open up the ending, and then you fight these waves of zombies, and then it's over. Every level is the exact same. When you're playing with strangers, everybody wants to go somewhere different. Everyone's a lazy ass and they don't want to drive the cars. So the guy who has to drive the car, God bless him, is doing all of the work. People are dropping pins all over the place. It's just like herding cats for a little bit. I don't know. It's it's fine. It's fun. I definitely wouldn't recommend it unless you're like big into zombie shooters, but it's, you know, good for a few weekends, and maybe if it goes on sale, pick it up with your friends. But it's, yeah, unless they add a lot to it, I definitely don't. I think that 74 is pretty right on.
Do you suspect that they are going to add as much content as they did to World War Z, or any roadmaps? What are we looking like?
Well, we haven't heard any roadmaps, unfortunately, and we haven't heard any sales numbers either. So I could be like the only person playing this game. I don't know. So I am curious about their next steps and what happens. They were great. Like World War Z, they had this, it was pretty basic skill tree, and then they made it where you can prestige it like so many times that gave me so many more hours, and they added so many more powers. I could see them definitely doing that with these classes, and there are only 4 classes, so maybe adding a 5th or 6th class, because that's again what they did in World War Z. But there just isn't that base of horde, and there isn't, and the gameplay itself, just with the open world, just is a little bit it's a lot of work to get to. I don't know. So I don't know if they need to invest some time in it. They maybe just kind of like do a prestige thing and then peace out. It's a bummer.
How's that writing been? I heard there's some people being pretty critical of the writing. What do you think?
Oh no, it's so fun. Like that's one thing where they can go fuck off, because it is supposed to be like an 80s action game, John Carpenter style. There is a character that sounds exactly like Kurt Russell, and it's got to be on purpose, because his lines and his intonation and the way they deliver these stupid lines are really fun. And so yeah, the writing, I mean, it's a zombie shooter. Like, it's not going to be like Shakespeare or anything, but it does what it needs to do. It has a good fun tone. The less speaking in a zombie shooter, really, the better. And so it's not a thing, you know?
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
$40. Why not?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
At least the price point's good.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't feel burned. I'll still put some more hours into it for sure. But Lord, you said you'd been playing Marathon.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, and that's another $40. 40.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys, honestly, Marathon, I have like 35 hours already into this thing, and it's like crack. I cannot stop. Like when the kids and the wifey go to sleep, I'm like jumping on the computer, turning that thing on, doing some runs either with some friends, or I'm just running around as Rook collecting materials in the field. It is so much fun. I'm telling you, this is honestly probably the most fun I've played, you know, in an extraction shooter that I've played. I've played Tarkov. I played some Division, but this one just, man, it ticks all the boxes. And when I tell you the sci-fi, the dark tone sci-fi that they somehow captured in this game is like straight up lightning in a bottle. I don't know how they did it, but it is so good. Like, I don't know. And it's crazy. I've been just on this tear, like Reddit, and has just been seriously trashing this game for some reason. So I'm just out there crusading, trying to spread the good word of this game, because I don't want it to die. It is so good. I've not had this much fun, especially a multiplayer game, in a serious hot minute. So if you're looking for a multiplayer game, definitely jump in.
What was your reaction to the update they announced this week? I think it was yesterday, on Thursday, about in-game raids, and you have to be, you know, like level 15 and everything unlocked, and you have to have like so many thousands of dollars worth of gear or something like that. Like
level 25.
Pumped? Yeah. Okay. Are you pumped? I was assuming you're pumped.
To be honest, I don't even think I'm going to be able to jump in there, unfortunately, because I am level 25, but like there's other prerequisites that you gotta hit to even like jump in there. So I don't know if we're there yet. I don't know. It's cool. I like the game too, because there are like levels. You can't just like go to whatever map you want. There's like different levels. You have to find different stuff, you know, get key cards to access different things. And honestly, like, I don't think we're even like kitted enough to go and fight those raids. You have to have like a certain amount of equipment to feel good and fight in these things, because like they've said that even the AI in that game is like really difficult. It's just so good. James, have you been tempted at all to check it out?
I am teetering on the edge as a lover of sci-fi and old school Bungie, right? So I'm hopeful for sure. I always bounced hard off of Destiny. I wanted to love Destiny. I loved the idea of Destiny, and it just felt like a mess that I never knew where the hell to go. And it was just grindy, like doing dailies in WoW back in the day. And I was like, this is not fun. I did a few dungeons and things, and that was great. So I've been looking at marathons since I listened to one of your previous episodes, and I've just been teetering right on this edge. And then I guess to hear like that the sci-fi is good, I think that was the tipping point. I'm gonna have to try it this weekend for sure.
I think you should. It's like a scary sci-fi. I don't know, and that's what I said in the previous episode as well. It's like it's a T-rated game, but it feels so mature and adult, and that's why I'm like kind of speaking to Dan on this one, because like he's always talking about like mature adult games. It is like a very adult style game. Like I honestly feel like they were trying to like tap into like an older audience with this game, which is so, I don't know, maybe they did it on accident, but they definitely did it. Even on the subreddit, people are like, oh, this is like older players are gravitating towards this game, which is so interesting. It feels very advanced. It's awesome. Like seriously, for $40, it's a no-brainer pickup in my book, and they'll probably have it on sale also, soon enough.
I'm more of a toxic Commando for $40, but I can understand. I'm not quite sold yet on it, but yeah, I appreciate it. I'm happy that you like it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, thank you.
All right, that pretty much wraps up all the video game news stories we've got for you this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. James, before we go, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and what you've been up to and High Octane Dads?
Yeah, so we're High Octane Dads podcast at High Octane Dads on YouTube. We're on Spotify and all that stuff. So we'll be relaunching in April is the plan. You can find my personal channel and on Twitter, X, whatever it is these days. Pretty much everything is at The Genuine Geek. So yeah, just check me out and love to hear from you.
Awesome. Oh. Well, thank you. It sounds cool, and I can't wait to see the new stuff that you guys pump out. And thanks again, of course, for joining us.
Thank you, James. Great time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
We really appreciate you. It has been. All right. On behalf of my buddy Matt Lord and myself, Dan Whitehill, and of course our guest James, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.